So now that we have an idea of what the next couple of sections, what the next couple of videos have in store with us, let's go ahead and get started and see how we're able to work with Liferay. So we're first going to talk through a couple concepts, and then we'll go through the installation process of installing Liferay. So let's get started. So what exactly is Liferay? Liferay is an open source product that is a digital experience platform. So open source, the idea that the code that we have is made available to everyone. So you can look at it, I can look at it, your Uncle George can look at it as well. But let's hammer more the idea of this digital experience platform. We say that a digital experience platform is all about the user. We want to be able to immerse the user in a unified experience as they go through our sites and as we interact with the user. But let's break down digital experience platform into each one of its words. Digital experience and then the platform itself. So we're going to start off with digital. There's a lot of different aspects to digital. We are integrating and we're using a lot of cool technologies behind the scenes in order to bring this sort of unified experience. Over in the back end, we have a new framework, or a framework we're using called OSGI, allows for the development of Liferay to be a lot more modular, makes the management of Liferay much simpler. Over here, more in the front end, if you decide to work on the front end, we're using a lot of cool technologies that we're developing in-house to make our front end look really cool and allow you to make your front end look really cool as well. But on the flip side of digital, there's the idea that the way that we communicate today is digitally. Even right now, right, between you and I, we are having this sort of digital conversation. Albeit it is kind of one way, but right, I'm interacting with you digitally. And that's how a lot of our interactions is today, whether it's instant messenger or streaming or Instagram, right? A lot of what we do is digital, the way we communicate. And we also want to bring that into our organizations, our corporations, our businesses. We want to take processes that may be old or archaic and digitalize them. So that way it makes it much simpler, much easier, saves time, saves money, and allows us to reach this new sort of height within our organization. So that's the idea of digital transformation. The next keyword here is experience. Now, you and I both have our own sets of unique experiences that sort of shape the way we think, shape the way that we interact, shape our thought process. And so with Liferay, we don't want to just have sort of this cookie cutter, hey, this is our site, take it the way it is, right? We want to be able to adjust Liferay to each person's specific uniqueness. That's the idea of experience, right? If I take a look at something on the site and then come back, right, maybe I want to see things that are related to what I've already saw. So that's the idea of experience. Having Liferay cater to each individual person's unique experience. And then finally, the last keyword here is going to be the platform. The platform itself is what makes all of this possible. In Liferay, our platform is very flexible. So whatever it is that you want Liferay to do, for the most part, you can probably make it happen, whether it's the back end, creating applications, or the front end, making Liferay look more like your own company's branding. So all of that to say, we have a lot of things, a lot of control, a lot to bring this user experience home, unified to whomever may be traversing our Liferay instance. So on top of that, with Liferay, we have a whole bunch of things that we can do as well. You can create, again, your own applications, your own widgets. You can create your own look and feel. You can also create websites for our users, our employees, our partners, and so on. As our users are traversing through our sites, we can keep track and manage their journey. Where are they in the processes that maybe they need to go through, right? We can create content and documents, manage them, as well as display them all within Liferay, one-stop shop. We have a bunch of applications or tools that help our users interact with one another and collaborate, helps boost up our productivity, right? We can develop our own applications for our own needs. Though Liferay comes with some, maybe we need something a little bit more specific, right? We can have back-end developers create that for us. And then again, the front end, we can make it look just the way that we want it to look. So Liferay's applications do come in a group of suites or packages. So we have a lot of applications that we provide. Each one comes in a specific set based off of what it's going to be used for. So our core applications with Liferay exist within the Foundation suite. All of our various collaboration tools are inside of the Collaboration suite. Forms and Workflow has their own suite. When we're dealing with search, that also has its own suite. And the whole web experience of Liferay has its own suite. So each one of these suites has a number of applications that we are able to use right out of the box. So when we are inside of Liferay itself, a lot of what we're going to be working with is this control menu. So when we start up Liferay and work with it, it's going to be at the very top. The control menu gives us a lot to work with. If you look over on the right-hand side of this image, you'll see a couple buttons here that allows us to do things like configure the current page using the gear, adding widgets or applications to the page using the plus button, and taking a look at what the current page actually looks like by clicking on that target or the simulation menu. Over on the left-hand side, you'll see the menu icon, and this is going to be the icon that we're going to be clicking and navigating through the most. When you click on that menu icon, it's going to open up what we call the product menu. This is the more technical name. If you just call it the menu, that's okay. Most of us know what the menu is. But technically speaking, this is known as the product menu. So whatever sort of administration we need to do on the platform itself, this is where we're going to head over. The product menu is broken up into 3 separate sections, each one emphasizing something a little bit different. So anything to do with the platform itself is going to be handled at the control panel. The second option, anything with the current user that we're logged in as, is going to be within that middle section. And then finally, if we have the ability to administrate the site, we're going to get that third option to administrate the site or site administration. So the control panel, the user account panel, and then the site administration panel. Right? If you want more details on some of this information, maybe you're like, hey Eddie, as much as I want to watch these videos, I need this really quick. I just need to read something. Head over to dev.liferay.com. This is where all of our documentation is at. If you're an enterprise subscription, or if you have a subscription with Liferay and the Liferay.com account, you can also head over to customer.liferay.com. There's a little bit more over there. So let's go ahead and start by setting up Liferay so we actually have something to work with. Depending on where you may be when watching this video, one of the ways that we can set up Liferay is with WeDeploy. You'll need to first create a WeDeploy account. We'll provide you a specific coupon code so that you have more access to WeDeploy, and then we just go ahead and deploy Liferay. But as I'm talking to you now, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to install Liferay locally. So once we install Liferay locally, then we will go through the login process. So let me first start off by doing that. If you want to install Liferay locally, you can follow along, but otherwise, if not, we'll go through the WeDeploy. It's much easier. Now, as kind of a forewarning, when installing locally, most of the time you're probably never going to do this. This is again just more so for testing. If you're really curious and you want to have an environment that you can literally break and have no consequences, this is when this comes in handy. So let's take a look over here. So the first thing is you're going to have to install Java. So I have my installer here. It's already installed. The second prerequisite that you need is to set the Java home variable. Now, when installing Java, you need a JDK. So if you need time to do that, feel free to, right? But otherwise, I'm just going to push on. So I'm here over in Windows. I'm going to navigate over to my C drive. So clicking on the Start button, heading over to this specific PC here, I'm going to head to the C drive. Now, generally speaking, whenever we install Liferay, we're going to be installing it inside of a folder called Liferay. So I've already created this Liferay folder here, and I have this thing called the Liferay bundle. The Liferay bundle is kind of an easy way to install and run Liferay. So I have this Liferay bundle. I'm going to copy. Okay, I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste it inside of the Liferay folder. In my situation, though, I already have stuff in that Liferay folder. So I'm going to create a new folder here just to be clean. If you do not have the Liferay folder, go ahead and create one. But because I already have one and I need the stuff inside of it, I'm going to create a new folder. So I'm going to call this LF for Liferay Fundamentals. And then from here, I'm going to call it bundle. So LF bundle. Right, I copied the Liferay Tomcat bundle into, or I'm going to copy and paste it into this LF bundle here. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and paste it. All right, and then once we paste the zip file, we're just going to unzip it. But a word of warning before we do, we are going to do our absolute best to avoid using the Windows default. The Windows default is very slow. We've seen that it doesn't quite handle this Liferay bundle so nicely. So if you have a third-party unzipping tool, WinZip, 7-Zip, SecureZip, or WinRAR, anything in between, use that instead. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here for a long time. I'm going to be paused for a really long time as the Windows default unzips. So do not use the Windows default. So from here, I'm going to right-click my Liferay bundle here, and I have 7-Zip. That's the tool I prefer. So we're going to hover over 7-Zip. If you have a different tool, feel free to adjust accordingly. And then from here, I'm going to select Extract here. Now another thing about Windows as we wait here is Windows has a specific file length restriction. So the length of the file path can only be so long before Windows says, hey, it's too long. So be careful with that as well. We're trying to reduce the number of folders that are going to be created. So we're going to wait for this to do its thing. Right now, as I'm filming this for you, we are using Liferay Community Edition Beta 2. Right? So we're trying to get these videos out at the same time as we release our product, Liferay DXP 7.1. Because of sort of the time lapse, we are using Beta 2 during this filming. So in your situation, you're going to be on the general release or GA1. So just keep that in mind. What you see here might be a little bit different than what you may actually see on your company's instance of Liferay 7.1. So with all of that, I have my Liferay instance ready to go. So we're going to head into the folder here. So Liferay CE Portal 7.1 Beta 2 without the timestamp. We're going to navigate into it. And what's going to run Liferay is this thing called Tomcat. So we're going to head over to the Tomcat folder. And then inside of the Tomcat folder, I'm going to head up to the folder called bin. So inside of the bin folder we go. And I'm looking for a file called startup. This is going to be a Windows batch file. So if you see the types here, make sure you select the one that says Windows batch. Assuming all of our configurations are good, what we'll do is we'll double click the startup batch file. Let me double click one more time. And you're going to see this window pop up. You'll have this little cup of coffee here in your desktop. And so long as this window is up and running, Liferay is up and running. So to avoid the temptation of closing this, you can just go ahead and minimize. You can click on the dash. So as long as you want Liferay to run, this window has to be somewhere. You cannot exit out of this and have Liferay run. Kind of like in real life, right? In order for our day to start, we usually drink our cup of coffee, or 3 cups, depending on what the day is for you. So the startup process does take a little bit of time. It might take a literal 5 minutes for it to actually start up. So if it takes longer than 5, that's okay. It does take a little bit of time. The first startup is generally a long startup. Liferay has finally started up on my end. Once Liferay does start up, it's going to open up your web browser and navigate to a specific URL, localhost :8080. So if you're running a local install, whenever you need to navigate to Liferay, we're going to use this URL. Again, this is only applicable if it's local. If you're using WeDeploy, you will be given a specific URL based off of the name of the project that you gave. So be careful. All right, so we have our basic configuration screen loaded up here. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the name of the portal here. So instead of Liferay, let's go ahead and delete that. So we're going to be calling this Livingston or Livingstone hotels, and let's use the ampersand here, and resorts. So Livingston Hotels and Resorts, or Livingstone Hotels and Resorts. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to be working with the admin user. We're going to be creating a new admin user here, and the name of the admin user, let's just keep it simple. This will be Livingston, and then the last name will be admin. And then for the email address, let's go ahead and use a different one. This is going to be admin, and instead of at liferay.com, let's use at livingstone.com. Next up, we're going to be unchecking the add sample data. So I'll go ahead and uncheck the add sample data. And then from here, let's go ahead and click Finish Configuration. So clicking on Finish Configuration, letting the screen load up from here. All right, so we have our terms of use here, right? So make sure you read through the terms of use. It's always very, very important to make sure we know exactly what we're signing up for. So make sure you do read it. If you want to read it in a different language, feel free to select the language that is applicable for you. So make sure you read through. We'll scroll through. Right? Section 8 is my favorite because it is in all caps. I like to read it as if it's screaming at me. Kind of makes it a little more comical. All right, so section 8 is my favorite. So make sure you scroll through, read through, and then click I agree. All right, let's go ahead and set a password. To be more consistent, to make this process easy, let's go ahead and just have the same password. So my password is going to be test, and then I'm going to enter it one more time. So go ahead and do the same thing. It's a very easy password to remember. Right, so I'll go ahead and click save. All right, so from here, we have a password reminder question. We're not going to be using this all too much, but I always like to set my own password. So we can write my own question, and my favorite question, as it shows here, is what's cooler than being cool? And then the answer is ice cold. I use this for many of my password reminders, so don't go stealing my passwords. And then from here, let's go ahead and click save. All right, so after we click on the save button, right, this brings us over to Liferay, our Liferay platform. So we see the control menu up here at the top. there's the menu button here on the left-hand side, and then the buttons over here on the right-hand side. So feel free to take some time and press these buttons, right? We have a lot of creative freedom here. So you can pause the video if you want, click on the buttons and kind of see what they do. Right? But from here, we're going to go ahead and enter into the menu, and we're going to be progressing through the next step here. So we have installed Liferay. Very good. We have signed in for the first time as our admin user. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to be applying a specific theme to our Liferay site. So a theme is used to kind of control the stylistic aspects of Liferay. There's a whole course on that over in the front-end developer. So let's head over to the menu up here at the top left, and we'll wait for it to load up. It does take a little bit of time, so if it takes a little bit longer for you, no worries. All right, so once the menu eventually does load up, what we're going to do is we're going to head down to the site administration section. So this third section here, if it's not expanded out, go ahead and expand it out. So from here, we're going to head down and select Build, followed by Pages. So site administration, build, followed by pages. And again, since this is the first time we are running Liferay, it does take a little bit of time for it to load up. Once it's loaded up, at the very top right, you'll have the 3-dot options menu. So go ahead and click on the options menu, followed by configure. Right, there's a lot of different names for that options menu. I personally think of it as the snowman button, because the 3 dots like on a snowman. So we're here in the public pages, and we're going to be applying a specific theme. So from here, we're going to scroll down just a little bit until we find the Change Current Theme button. Once you find that button, go ahead and click it. So we'll go ahead and click the Change Current Theme. The theme that we're going to be using is the second one from the left. So let's go ahead and click it. So once we do, we can also change the logo while we're at it. Right now we see the Liferay logo up at the top left, but we're going to be selecting our Livingston Hotels and Resorts logo. And so if you don't have the exercises folder ready to go already, go ahead and pause this video, download and unzip the folder. For me, I already have it unzipped. It's on my desktop. So from here, we're going to select logo, and we're going to change the logo up a little bit. So let's click change once we expand out that logo section. Okay, and just waiting for the image to load up. From here, let's go ahead and click select. And then I'm going to be heading over to my desktop. So on my desktop is where my exercise folder is going to be. So wherever it is for you, go ahead and navigate to it. I do suggest putting it on the desktop. It's just really easy to get to. So from here, heading over to the Liferay Fundamentals Exercises folder. Right now we're in section 01, Liferay and Users. And then we'll have this PNG file for Livingston or Livingstone. From here, I'll click Open. And it gives us a little bit of some wiggle room here. Let's see if we can see something. On my end, it doesn't show up. So let's trust that it's there, and then click Done. Now, if you do see something, I would say let me know, but this is a video. It's hard. And then finally, let's go ahead and click Save one last time. So clicking Save at the bottom, we do see the Livingston logo right there, where my mouse cursor is. I'm going to head over to the main site by clicking on Livingston Hotel and Resorts up here at the top left. And let's see what our theme looks like. I haven't seen this theme in action, so this is going to be my first time seeing it as well. So I'm excited. Let's go ahead, and I guess we're just going to wait until it loads up. So I know I've said it a couple times already, but the first load of Liferay does take a little bit of time. So I'll let it do its thing. So here's our theme. So far, it looks all right. I think we can do a little bit more with it as we progress through with the course. So very good. So far we have installed Liferay, we logged in, and then we have applied our theme and our logo to our specific site. So this is going to reach our first checkpoint of the day, or I guess of the videos. So go ahead and take some time, look through your student manual and fill in some of those blanks there. We'll go over what those blanks are shortly, but go ahead and spend some time to look through your student's guide, review anything that you want to review, and maybe even have some fun with this, right? Maybe you can delete your Liferay instance and try to spin up a new one, right? Again, in this training, in these videos, you're gonna have a lot of freedom to do whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe you want to name this something else when you start it up. Feel free to test that out as well, right? And then whenever you're ready, feel free to progress through the next ones. So let's go ahead and take a look all together and see what those blanks are. So I'll go ahead and bring those up back here in my slide deck. So we've gone through these steps here, and let's talk about those sections in your book. So Liferay is an open source digital enterprise platform. So the first blank is Liferay. Right, so Liferay makes all of this possible. The control menu appears for all logged in users by default. So you have to log in order to see that control menu up at the top. Right, as we log in, on the left-hand side is where we're going to have a lot of our admin tools once you click on that menu. On the right-hand side is where you have the add menu, the simulation tools, and then that config gear as well. When you click on that menu button, it opens up what's known as the product menu. Again, if you call it just the menu, many of us know what the menu is. But again, the technical name of this is the product menu. So product menu is where a lot of our configuration is going to happen, a lot of our platform settings, right? There's three parts of the product menu. We have the control panel, the user account panel, and then finally the site administration, right? So if you got all of those correct, good job, right? If you need to review some of that, again, you do have your manual on hand. Feel free to read through and see where these things are mentioned. All right, so very good. So with all of that, let's go ahead and we'll progress through, and we're going to start painting the picture or painting the story to help guide our exercises.